So I'm originally a sculptor, and I've been working with video and sound, like installation-based work for some time now. 10 years or so. A lot of the work is self-referential, so I'm usually the subject matter, and the actors and the performers within the work often. A little tongue-in-cheek, sort of play a little bit with narcissism. And then here lately, I've started working with 360-degree video. So this was a piece that I did last summer at a residency just up the Appalachians a little bit further, at Mountain Lake. This is it sort of stretched out and flattened. So it's repetitions of me, sort of getting in touch with the trees, sort of mimicking the gesture of each of the trees surrounded. This is along the Appalachian Trail, a little campsite that was there. While I'm here, in October I did another residency in the high Arctic. So we were around Svalbard, which is the island archipelago at about 78 degrees north. Right up close to the ice pack. And so we were on a sailing vessel. There were 30 artists and a crew of 10 that were on the boats. There were 40 of us on a 150-foot barkentine tall ship. So we got to do a little sailing, and then spent some time sort of exploring the Arctic, and then sailed up to the ice pack while we were there. And so what I've been working on here is sort of going through the footage. So while I was there, I did a lot of documentation, took a lot of photographs on various types of cameras. I did quite a few 360 small scale and then some high resolution 360 performances, much like this piece here. Upstairs on the laptop is just a slideshow. I don't know exactly what's in it. It is just my iPhone dump from the trip. So there's no organization to it. It's just everything that I took on the iPhone while I was there. So what I've been working on here, let's close this out.
Did you say 30 artists on the ship?
There were 30 artists and 10 crew.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was
all different forms of art,
all different forms, all different sort of medias, and from around the world. There were, maybe a third were from the U.S. and then a third were Canada and the UK, and then the rest were sort of spread out. Yeah, there were quite a few from. It was a couple from Thailand and some from Norway and Iceland. So they were sort of from everywhere on it. The residency they do it twice a year. Normally the boat during the summer is like a cruise ship, so it wasn't super roughing it. There were 16 cabins for the 30 of us. Cabins, they're small.
You said it's a tall ship.
It's a tall ship, yeah. So there's,
Gosh.
let's see.
You want to do that next time? I don't know if I do or not. Was it rough seas?
At times, a few times. When we hit open ocean, it would start to get a little rough. But it's a steel-hulled ice-class sailing vessel. Originally a fishing vessel that has been modified into a sailing vessel. I think it was modified in the 80s, I think. It was converted from a fishing vessel to a sailing vessel. And then about 10 years ago, it was, they cut it in half and then added 30 feet to it.
Wow.
Evidently,
That's pretty wild.
to make it longer.
I bootshell the house.
to make it
Yeah,
longer.
so you do that here.
Yeah,
Same thing.
that's funny.
I don't have to make it float.
That's true.
Oh God, that's funny.
Great.
Wow. Is a nonprofit that runs that?
Yeah, so it's a nonprofit. They're based in New York. And like I said, over the summer, it is a it's a cruise ship, essentially, that does tourist trips around the islands there. And then, so the artist residency then charters the boat before the tour season starts and after the season is over. So the October, they do one during the summer solstice, so you get 24 hours of daylight for the whole 3 weeks you're out. And then I went on the one in October, which is after the season's over. So it's pretty empty. There's all the tourists have gone home. Most of the other boats have gone home. We saw one other vessel that was just sort of playing around. It was just the crew on it while we were out. So
You're not having to crew anything, are you?
yeah, well, it turns out the crew, there was a crew of 10, you know, which was the captain and first mate and second mate, and then there was the cook. There were 4 high Arctic guides. Because of polar bears, you have to be armed at all times if you make landfall.
Seriously.
So it's required by the government there that everyone be armed. So we had guides that we would usually make landfall twice a day, so after breakfast and then after lunch, depending on where we were at, we would make landfall, and so the guides would go on, secure the location, and then they would bring us over in the Zodiacs. And we did
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
we did. We finally saw a polar bear towards the end of the trip. It was on shore. We were sailing by. That day we had really good weather, so we were sailing. And so we dropped some of the sails so we could cut in to get a little bit closer look. But yeah, we were able to see all of it. We saw the Arctic fox and caribou and polar bear and seals and walruses, and yeah, it was quite the adventure. So this is usually on a mat, so.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
But yeah, it's sort of on the boat. And then with sails up.
Now, that sail would make that a specific kind of sailing boat, because you see those only on certain boats.
Yeah, and it's there's a different rigging. So I've recently become a sailor. So Sarah and I are married. So Sarah and I, along with another couple, about a year ago, took a couple. She's from Rhode Island. We took we were up and took some weekend sailing lessons in Newport, just because we had been going up and visiting so much. It looks like fun. And then next thing you know, we own a sailboat.
How about that?
Yeah, ours is much smaller. Is also old and ancient, but.
Those sails remind me almost of an oriental feeling of the boats in China
Yeah, what are
Yes.
those called?
that they use on them.
They do. And I can go through some of those up. I can pull them out easier on the other one upstairs once we return up there. But
We
there's
didn't mean to distract you.
no, that's totally
You go on.
that's totally okay.
Sorry.
So
It was like, I think he said 30 artists on a tall ship, but I
Yeah.
must be dreaming. He didn't really say that.
Yes, Suki,
Yeah.
that's a big
That's
ship.
what I had.
I think I have a video of the. There we go. So this was a time lapse of the
Yeah,
day
this
we did a
really-
full sail. So it's the camera's up mounted by the where they drive it. I was super disappointed to find out that big giant wheel, there's another wheel just inside
Oh,
and everything. Of course, I had to get pictures at the big wheel. Since I guess I'm a sailor now, I don't know. And then to find out that they actually steer it with this little teeny joystick that's about this was really depressing.
Oh my.
Another illusion shattered.
It is.
Oh, it's a
It's a big inflatable swan. So one of the artists was doing a short film And so that's one of her props. And since then we've sort of we've kept in touch, all 30 of us,
Wow, great.
which is unusual, I've found, that we got along that well. Of course, it was 3 weeks with no contact with the outside world.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's no internet,
Yes.
there's no phone, cell service. They had a satellite phone in case of emergency, and that was it.
Was anybody painting on that?
There was some people painting. There was a couple watercolors that were doing watercolor.
Right.
So they were using melted glacial water for their watercolors.
Oh,
That's John down there in the jacket with the red stripe.
Yeah, so the red and beige jacket is me.
Sarah, are you on here? on the
No,
show?
oh no. Actually, while this is going on and he's doing this, I was selling our house.
Oh, my God.
So I was having like the most hellish 3 weeks of our life. And he
Oh,
was,
my
like,
gosh.
out of reach.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I was super happy.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Oh, God.
So yeah, that's let me fast forward a little bit.
There's like a weird take on Norwegian slow TV.
Yeah. And then so we all got sailing lessons. So the crew of 10 can't actually sail the boat. It actually requires about 30 people to be able to sail it.
Yeah.
So we got sailing lessons on the water in the moment. Because of the size and weight of all of the sails, the square rigging sails require 5 people on either side to hoist them up.
Wow. Wow.
How much is this sped up? Like versus normal time, I guess, or
There's, I think it was 1 frame every 2 seconds.
okay.
Was the frame rate. I don't know how that works. The video is about 7 minutes, and we were sailing for about 12 hours.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, the drawing on the deck is where Mario, the second mate, was giving us our sailing lessons.
Did you say Mario? This looks to me like a video game, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mario was the second
The
mate.
swan move.
Yeah, we had to move them to. At some point during the sail, we had gotten underway, and there was one of the guides had a dog to help watch out for the bears. So we had a dog on board living with us too. And at one point, we had gotten the sails up and just got underway, and the dog had to use the restroom. So it was all hands on deck to get one of the Zodiacs off the boat and into the water while we were sailing, so that they could take him to land. So he could go to the bathroom.
Oh my
you couldn't
goodness.
use the pee-pee pad in the boat?
Right?
I know,
Well,
really.
he ended up,
That's what I thought too.
doing
The
that
litter.
later. But maybe it was more involved in just a pee-pee, I guess.
Oh,
But-
pretty.
Is that a border collie? Is that what that was?
That's cute. It looks like Carter.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the breed was. It was interesting getting to know the guides. The 4 guides, so that was after the pee-pee accident. Destroyed the drawing. of our
They
sailing
close them
lessons.
off.
I
Yeah.
like that
Um,
swan. It's cool.
Wow.
But the guides, all women for the guides. All women.
It's the lady guys.
With the guns?
Yes, they were, so the
Tough ladies.
one guy,
That was Mama's.
yeah, they were impressive. So the one guy,
Guess you have
in the
to.
off-season, she would run sled dogs. So she had 2 sled teams,
God, so cool.
and she would run, all of her clothing was all stuff that she had hunted, and so it was like
Wow.
seal and fox
Yeah.
outerwear that she had,
What you taught
yeah, that she had hunted and
Yeah.
tanned the leather and fabricated the clothes and all that kind of stuff. And then knitted all of the intermediate layers and everything, so it was sort of like traditional mesh. No Gore-Tex or anything like that. It was all back to, wool and leather for her gear.
Which is very good for cold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, so that was our sail.
Yes. Yeah.
Yay, that you made it back.
Yeah.
Green.
This is amazing.
So polar bears, huh?
I didn't know polar bear where I was. I was thinking of no polar bear.
I didn't realize they were so vicious.
You wanna go on that cruise now?
Yes. Well, because if they're that far down, they haven't. When they're that far down, they haven't eaten in a long time. So it was funny on the boat. In the they had a sign for the polar bear, so it was showing sort of like looking down on top of the polar bear, the different shapes and how nervous you should be, depending on
Oh my
you know,
goodness.
like how thin it was or how fat it was.
Oh, so the thinner it is, and
Which was
I know with bears here, like black bears or whatever, you're not supposed to run away. You're supposed to make yourself big. All
yeah.
that.
Make noise.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You
Make
don't
noise.
want to run from the bear.
That's all true about the polar bear too. But they look so cuddly.
Yeah, they are super cute. And playing, to watch them play, you know, we were at quite a distance when we were watching them, so they were sort of playing, cooling off, cleaning, you know, so they would flop in the snow and then push
Aw.
themselves and roll down the side of a mountain, which was all super cute. Did not really seem scary from a distance.
Mm.
There's a different video I was looking for. And part of so at the end of this 2 weeks, I will be heading down to Hendersonville for an exhibition there.
Ah.
So that's what I'm doing now, is sort of working on getting some of this work together.
In Andersonville, right on the other side of Asheville?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some of the performances and everything are sort of shot in location. So this one is, I haven't edited it yet. Just started stitching it
So
together.
that's a house?
That is so it's a house, Trapper Station, that's up there. The house is a little bit newer. The Trapper Station, because of the pack ice and everything, that we generally would go up before the packed ice comes in and drop off. And then you'd stay for the winter, and someone would pick you up in the spring.
That's so cool.
And so yeah, this was a Trapper Station that we had gone to, and sort of somehow, the Trapper Station has been there since the 1700s.
Mm.
The smaller building that you see on the left, the smallest structure on the left, was the original station. Because of the cold and dry climate, things don't really decompose.
No.
So there's no soil for the most part. There's no trees, and it's hard to date how old things were, you know, so like we would see stuff when we were out, and you know, asking history and stuff of the guides. In a lot of cases, it's hard to tell whether it's been there for 50 years or 150 years, because it doesn't really decompose. On one of the hikes we had gone, where a lot of the whalers, whaling was big. It was used originally for whaling, so the whales would be brought on land so that they could cut them apart and everything. So they wouldn't have to be at sea doing that. And so there was a cemetery close to the site where a lot of them were doing, and so there were graves that were wooden pine boxes, 500 years old, that were still just sitting on the ground, like.
Oh my God.
So it's
Because you
not
can't
only
bury 'em, I
decomposed,
guess.
but it's
No.
also no erosion.
Yeah, not much erosion either with it. I mean, it's a permafrost, so they had been buried and have slowly worked to the surface, you know, and they had sort of collapsed and everything, but the structure of the boxes and everything was still totally intact in there.
Getting wood up there from.
There was, so all of the wood that you see for the cabin is all driftwood. All the driftwood is from Siberia.
Okay.
So where they're logging, where they've been logging through the centuries, the ones that get lost as they're floating down the river, I guess the currents, they end up here, is where they end
And
up.
it's a tin roof.
It was asphalt.
That's weird.
So there was a lot of asphalt over top. So newer, but yeah, the roofs were asphalt. The shack had been covered several times in asphalt. I think more in more recent times. The only vegetation that was around this site was around the original, and so there was moss that sort of was around, and then over by on the extreme right, that little structure is where they would hang their catches to keep them away from the polar bears. And so around that there was a little bit of vegetation. But the only place vegetation grows is where something has died or there's been traffic.
Some organic thing.
Yeah, something organic has landed. So around the house from walking around, the outhouse had lots of moss around it.
God, that's weird. And so did somebody, you say, live there for part of the year, they would drop them off, is that what you
Yeah,
said?
so they lived there 6 or 7 months a year, sort of by themselves, and they would hunt seals to eat, and then fox for the furs, and then try to avoid the bears.
What? It's it's beautiful shot, and then your figure walking across is almost so ghostly. How close to finished is that? Is that kind of what you? I'm just trying to think of where in the process you are with that piece.
I'm not totally sure. I did a lot of takes while I was there, because I was shooting in 360 and because we had to have armed guards all the time, and there was 30 of us. Like shooting became sort of difficult because the boat was always in the shot usually, and there were people in the shot all the time.
Kind of ruins it.
Because it's the guide that's sort of running it has been running it since the beginning, so she's gone on the trip for 13 years now, and so they try to accommodate artists. So every day after lunch and after dinner, they hang out at the bar on the boat, and if you have special requests, they'll see what they can do to accommodate. So in this case, there was a small group of us. We had hiked to the Trapper Station that morning, and then we're planning on going someplace else. And then they held up, and so that I could go back to do a film. So there was about 5 other artists and 2 of the guides. We hiked back to them, and then when I started filming, everybody hid behind the building so they weren't in the shot. So they
That's
were
nice.
working with me. So there was several people that wanted to go back as well to do some rubbings inside one of the cabins and some stuff like that that we didn't get to do earlier. So they did that while I got set up and did some practice runs. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. My original idea, I don't know how well I like it anymore. So, originally there were several takes, and each one is sort of walks around the circle, and then sort of stands still until there's a whole circle, much like in the forest. Where
I
there's
see.
a whole
So
bunch
you have a
of
whole
me.
population.
But I don't know that I necessarily like that anymore. When I first started working with these, I was thinking of them in like a virtual reality headset. So it's something that you would be standing where the camera was, and so you could look around. So in the case of the forest, I would be all around you. But since then, I kind of like them flat, with that the distortion and stuff that you get, and sort of laid out, where the software is taking that globe and then sort of peeling it out and laying it flat. And I kind of like the aspect ratio and like how widescreen it is and the distortion. And the same with some of the smaller camera. So the last 2 days I've been working on pulling a bunch of mistakes from the footage, and creating a bunch of selfies after the fact. So in this case, because it is always shooting 360.
It's just so
So
interesting.
you end up with these really distorted
Hmm.
images. So this camera, the other camera that has the big wide ones that I'm shooting is a GoPro that has 6 cameras,
Uh-huh.
really high resolution. That
The
sort
fuck is
of are a
happening?
cube, and then the
Wow.
software stitches them together. This one here is just 2 like small cameras that have massive fisheye lenses on them.
Yes.
So this is just one of the cameras, so you get a 180 view. And so I've been going through all of the footage and pulling up a bunch of selfies out for the show in Hendersonville. So a little tongue in cheek, and then some postcards made, which has me sitting on the mast while or not on the mast, but on the bowsprit while we're sailing. And then I did one of the like feather flags that you see at car lots. I'm going to put it in the gallery and put a few fans on it to get it to blow.
Oh, those.
Signed by the bathroom wall, sort of thing. And then color coded so that it sort of matches my jacket. And then we'll do a whole series of these selfies and then probably the video. With this camera I was shooting, also working with the Science Museum in Virginia that has a 360-degree dome theater. Intentions of making a short film for that. So with these cameras, I was shooting a lot with it. I only cared what one of the cameras was doing, so I would set up the camera to get the shot that I was looking for the Science Museum, and then which meant the other camera is like down in the dirt or I'm in it. They also are shaped like this. So the other video piece will be sort of a tiled of the backside
Cool.
instead of front side.
There's people there in the distance. Those funny dots way out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a couple people. We were on a hike for
Wow.
this, and we hiked to some natural springs.
That is so distorted.
And you were in hot spring or just plain?
They were lukewarm springs.
Exist?
It was one of the few places to see anything sort of growing. They weren't very hot, but there wasn't any snow. They were wanting to melt the snow away. And the little banks of the little streams that were made were all covered in sort of this like rainbow of moss. So it was like reds and oranges and yellows and greens and pale greens. It was really cool.
Wow.
So that's sort of what I'm up to.
Awesome.
Wow.
Thanks so much. Yeah.